Hi, everybody. Whoop, yeah. Nope. Oops. My phone just fell. Sorry about that. Okay, way to start a Facebook Live. Here we go. Hello. Hi. I am excited to be here. I just got off a red eye, and I just took a shower, so you got wet hair. And I'm really tired because I got like 2 hours of sleep on the red eye, but I'm excited to be here talking to you today because we're going to be talking about a really important topic. It's like perhaps the most important topic, which is exercise motivation. We're going to be talking about how to motivate to exercise when your body is in pain. We're going to talk all about that. But first, I want to invite you guys to say hi, come talk to me, ask me questions as I talk. I say this every Facebook Live, but it's really important to me. I think Facebook Live is weird where I'm talking to the camera and I can't actually see you. So if you're watching, please wave and tell me hello. Let me know that you're there so that I don't feel like I'm talking off into no man's land. Hi, Valerie. Hi, Jody. Thank you for being here. This is awesome. Excuse me. Hi, Christy. Great. Thank you for saying hello. That makes all the difference to me. And as we go, tell me your stories, ask me your questions. I am here to help and educate. That's the point. Hi, Patty. Okay, so let's start off with a question. Exercise motivation. Do you have it or do you not? Tell me where you are in your exercise. Because here's the thing is that some people are truly motivated to exercise. Some people, and I fall into this category, where like my day does not start right if I don't exercise. Hi, Carrie. Okay, so Carrie, you're on the other end of the spectrum. You're saying no, which I think means that you have no motivation to exercise and it's hard. And Jody, you don't have motivation to exercise all the time, but maybe sometimes. So that leads me to the next question, which is that if you don't have motivation to exercise, what is it that's holding you back? What is the lack of motivation about? Because it can be about a lot of things. And these are sort of the categories I hear from the like hundreds of people who email me all the time. I'm tired. I'm too tired. That's a biggie. I'm too tired. And I get it. Being too tired is a real problem because when you have an autoimmune disorder, here's a good way to explain it. When you have an autoimmune disorder, you only have so many spoons. Have you guys heard of the spoon theory before? So those of you who know the spoon theory, bear with me, but I'm going to share it for those who don't. Spoon theory is an explanation of how people with autoimmune disease feel. I guess a woman who had an autoimmune disease went out to lunch with her friend and was trying to explain to her how exhausted and sore and tired she feels and how that impacts her day. So she explained it like this. I wake up in the morning and I have 12 spoons. And that's how I start my day. Every time you do something that is overtaxing or exhausting, you lose a spoon. So, for example, for her, she'd wake up, she'd take a shower, she'd lose a spoon. She'd go downstairs, eat breakfast, go to work, she'd lose a spoon. She'd work all day. That was like probably three spoons. She had to do an errand on the way home from work, so that's another spoon. So it's all about the idea that before the day is even over, we're often depleted of all our spoons. So by the time we get home and we're ready to settle down and perhaps exercise, all our spoons are gone. Or perhaps maybe we're going out to dinner with a friend, or perhaps we want to hang out with our kids, or whatever it is. By the time the day is long, and by the time we get there, those spoons are limited. And so I think that's a good way to think about, how tired people are, and why that could stop you from exercising. Carrie, hi. Carrie saying fear of flares are stopping her from exercising. Patty says she's tired and feels like hell. Yeah, I hear you. And Jody says it's a rebound effect. If I do too much when I feel good, then I get hit with intolerance. So you guys are all kind of saying the same thing, which is that you're either too tired to exercise and you have trouble motivating, or the fear of flaring up, which will then put you into this place of exhaustion and pain and suffering, will stop you from exercising. So yeah, these are all totally valid reasons. It makes a lot of sense to come home and sit on the couch instead of exercising when you're feeling exhausted. And it also makes tons of sense to avoid exercise for the fear of flares, because probably you did some exercise in the past that triggered a flare. And so you have this internal memory of that moment, and that causes the fear. Am I explaining this well to you guys? Is this all resonating? Tell me if what I'm saying is making sense, or if you've had a different experience. But the thing is about exercise is that we have this very definitive way of thinking about exercise, right? And so we think about how exercise is perhaps defined as like 30 minutes a day, right? So if I don't go for a walk for a significant period of time, then it doesn't count as exercise. Or if I don't go to the gym for a certain period of time, then it doesn't count as exercise, right? If I don't sweat, it doesn't count as exercise. If I am not tired and sore at the end of whatever it is that I did, then it doesn't count as exercise. And so because we have these very rigid definitions of what exercise is, that can also be limiting in terms of motivation, because we consider exercise to be hard, right? And so we think that if it's not hard, then we shouldn't be doing it. Because it's not going to work, or it's not actually exercise. And so when we're exhausted or we're fearing flares, it's because we're thinking about exercise in this way that it must be hard in order for it to work. And so what I'm trying to talk about and teach about is I'm trying to get you guys to loosen up in your definition of exercise. Because you don't have to end a workout being totally sweaty and drained and exhausted. You don't have to work out for half an hour in order for it to be a workout. You don't have to go to the gym in order to get a good workout. You don't have to follow these no pain, no gain traditional opinions of fitness. Oh, Christy, that is a really good point. You don't have to do what you used to do in order to work out. I know a lot of us have these like fitness histories where you've run half marathons, or maybe you did a lot of yoga and now you can't anymore because your body won't let you. It's too hard. And you're dealing with exercise intolerance. And so by limiting ourselves and comparing ourselves to our old selves, we're totally stopping us from moving forward in any kind of way. Right? It's totally stunted, because the first rule of Autoimmune Strong, first rule, most important rule, is that we have to acknowledge where our bodies are at, and we have to meet our bodies where they're at. It's really, really important. Tracy, I know you're just figuring this out. It's a really hard thing to figure out, and it's not so cut and dry because there are emotions attached to it. there are emotions attached to it because we yearn to be like our old selves, right? We mourn the loss of our old self, and we feel like if we used to do this, then we should still be able to do this, and if we can't do it, then we're not good enough, right? We feel limited by that memory of what we used to do. I mean, I totally get that. I used to run long distances. I used to leave my house and come back 3 hours later after, I would go for these long runs. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and so it was beautiful all year round. And I had this running trail that I loved, and it was like 10 miles, 12 miles, 15 miles. I would go do that like every day on a regular basis. My short runs were like 6 or 7 miles, and I loved it. I felt fresh and alive, and like I loved coming home and just feeling exhausted, and then like eating, I would always come home and eat like a big bagel, egg, and cheese. Now I'm celiac, and I realized that was really damaging, but I didn't know that at the time. And, and so sometimes I get into my head where I'm like, well, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to go for these long runs. Like, what's wrong with me that I can't do that now? And you start getting angry at yourself. Does this happen to you guys? We tell ourselves that we need to just stop being lazy. We need to just go back and do what we used to do. But it's not realistic, because our bodies are not the same as they used to be. They're just not. And that is partly due to your autoimmune condition, but it's partly due to time. I mean, age, life. Our bodies are not meant to be, we're not meant to be like running ourselves into the ground. It's not good for us. And so even if we have this idea that we want to do these like tougher exercises, like go to a spin class or I posted on Facebook the other day about how, even a restorative yoga class was too hard for me at a certain point in time in my healing journey. I went to this restorative yoga class, and I was, someone who used to do, when I lived in Los Angeles, yoga is like everywhere there, and I would go to these like 2-hour long yoga sessions in these really hot rooms, and it was like really hard, and I'd come back dripping with sweat. And then, fast forward a couple years, and like I couldn't even make it through a restorative yoga class without being in complete pain and complete exhaustion and feeling like it was too much, and like literally sitting in the corner and crying in child's pose until the class was over because I was so disappointed and upset with my body, right? So here's the thing. I said that the most important thing, and the rule number 1 of Autoimmune Strong, is that we have to accept where we are, and then we need to meet our bodies where they're at. And by doing that, we can actually provide our bodies with the right amount of exercise that will be nourishing and make us feel good rather than crappy. That's what we're going for. We don't want to be more exhausted. We don't want exercise intolerance. We want to feel stronger, healthier, more fit, more alive, more energetic, more vibrant. That's what we're going for. So we need to match the exercise with the result we want. And if we don't do that, motivation is impossible, because our bodies are not stupid. And so if your brain is saying, I'm going to go for a 3-mile run today, and your body is like, oh my God, no, I can't do that, then you're going to create this, this situation where your body and your brain don't match, and then all of a sudden, like, you're either going to push yourself harder than you need to be, and you're going to pay for it later, or You're going to have motivation issues because your body and your brain are going to hold you back from doing the wrong thing as a protective measure. And then you don't get any exercise and you don't progress in any way or get strength or energy or any of the good things that come with exercise. And then you just get stuck. Sally, your question is really, really good. What if you want to exercise, but you're in the middle of a fibro flare? It's a really, really good question. So, one question I have is, okay, I'm sorry. I was reading this comment and I got confused for a second. Sally. So Sally said, what if you want to exercise, but you're in the middle of a fibro flare-up? Okay. Big picture is that you want to be doing little amounts of exercise every day so that you have things under your belt when you get hit with a fibro flare. And your body is able to tolerate certain amounts of exercise. I'm sorry, Max, I'm not sure why you're posting these things, but I'm going to block you because I don't, yeah. Okay, sorry, I don't know if you guys just saw that, but there was a man who was asking me why I'm not at home cooking and cleaning, and that is just not welcome here. Okay, sorry, I didn't really give you a good answer there, so I'm going to go back and try that again. Yeah, he is a troll, and trolls have no place here, so he's blocked. Okay, so we're in the middle of the fibro flare. So the first thing is to set yourself up for success, because exercise can actually, if done properly, can reduce the possibilities of a flare-up. I want to say that again because it's really important. Consistent daily exercise can reduce the possibility of a flare-up. And here's why. Because I've talked about this before. Our bodies can only handle a certain amount of stress because we have our we have our autoimmune diseases, so that means that we're we're already under duress. Like our body's under stress all the time because our immune system is active and overactive, and and our inflammation is high. Then you add on stress of daily life, right? Grocery shopping, handling your mother-in-law, whatever it is that causes you stress. We have those things. And then we add exercise on top of it, right? And exercise is a form of stress. That's how exercise makes changes, is it puts pressure on the body and then our body adapts. So it's in that adaptation that we can actually reduce the risk of flare. Because if you do just enough exercise that your body can learn to adapt to that tiny little bit amount of pressure, then you get a tiny little bit of change. If you give your body too much exercise, you will not adapt because you will trigger inflammation, which means you have a greater risk of having a flare-up. And that's probably where most of you are. So you guys haven't found this sweet spot of exercise yet, of where it's like just enough. And you can do it. I'm going to go back to what I was saying before, where we have this definition of exercise where it needs to be like a big event. It doesn't. You can exercise for 5 minutes a day. You can exercise for 3 minutes a day. You can exercise for 1 minute a day. There are things you can do that are very simple that, if done on a daily basis, can start creating these teeny tiny adaptations where your body starts getting used to a little bit of stress, which means your stress tolerance becomes a little higher and a little higher and a little higher. And eventually your body begins to handle more stress, which means you're at a lower risk of flare-up. Does that make sense? So for me, For me, this is exactly what's happened, is that I used to not be able to even handle a 30-minute restorative yoga class. And now, I mean, this is years later. I've been working on this for years, 5 years, if we're going to be specific. But years later, I can now make it through. I go to power yoga for like an hour and a half once a week, and I can do it, and I do it great, and I don't have a flare-up. So my body can handle these things now. But I've been very specific about giving just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit and building up that tolerance over time so that I have met my body where it's at and I've progressed. Now, that's like what to do, big picture, all the time, right? If you're in the middle of a fibro flare right now and you want to start exercising, you can. And exercise can actually help pull you out of the flare. But your exercise needs to be the teeniest, tiniest of teeny tiny. Like stand on one leg for 10 seconds and then switch legs. That's 20 seconds a day. Foam rolling. For those of you guys who are members, you know I'm obsessed with foam rolling. I teach it in Autoimmune Strong. It's crazy effective in helping you reduce a flare. Well, if you're recovering from a massive cold that's really set you back, foam rolling would be amazing for you, because one of the things I love about foam rolling is it really stimulates the lymph system, so it gets all those fluids kind of pushing out of your body. It moves all the stagnant, toxic that's in our bodies, and like it moves it around. So we have two different systems in our bodies. We have a blood system, which brings oxygen in, and the blood moves around and and nourishes our body. It brings nutrients to our body. That blood system has a pump, right? We have a heart. It's pumping. It's moving. So that's what's bringing good things into our body. We also have the lymph system, which is taking out the things we don't need, right? It's like the trash collector. But we don't have a pump. The lymph has no pump. There's no additional organ that moves lymph fluid around. And so we bring in all these good nutrients, but we don't necessarily clear out the old ones. So two things that are really essential there: water. You're supposed to drink your body weight divided by 2 is the number of ounces you're supposed to drink every day. Water helps move that lymph fluid around. The other thing is foam rolling. And if you don't know how to do it or what it is, I have an entire section in Autoimmune Strong where I teach it in the Autoimmune Strong program. The other thing about Autoimmune Strong is that I've developed the program to help you with these teeny tiny movements. Because I know you're watching this and you're like, okay, what she's saying totally makes sense, but I have no idea how to do these teeny tiny movements that are going to help me adapt. Like what on earth is she talking about, right? I mean, you can raise your hand if you're feeling that way, because I get it. It's confusing and I'm not really giving specifics. And the reason is that it's hard to teach in a Facebook Live. But that is literally the philosophy of the Autoimmune Strong program. The Autoimmune Strong program, exercise program, is meant to help you reduce the difficulties of motivation, because I'm going to give you an exercise program that's achievable, where you meet your body where it's at. So we start with something called abdominal bracing, where you literally can do it for 10 seconds a day, which is totally different than what we were talking about, where like you have to go out and sweat and crush yourself for half an hour in order to feel like exercise, right? 10 seconds a day does not sound like an exercise program, but oh, it is. And it starts that process of helping your body to learn how to deal with a little bit of pressure. And then over time, you can do 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds. And then over time, you can add it into it. You can do a movement in addition to the bracing. And the whole program is set up to be progressive so that all of a sudden these teeny tiny movements get a little bit harder and a little bit harder and you don't even notice. And because you're only doing like 15 minutes a day or less, it's not so hard to motivate because you feel good afterwards rather than feeling crappy. And you reduce your risk of flare-ups, right? Like, these are all amazing things, right? Like, why wouldn't you want this? It works. But here's the thing. It only works if you do it. Because I have a lot of members who will email me and say like, oh, I signed up for this, but like I got really busy, or I had a flare up and I couldn't make it happen. And so I've decided to cancel until things get better. I'm going to drop some knowledge that you may not be ready to hear or you may not want to hear, but I'm going to tell it to you anyways because I'm honest about the way things really are. Is that if you think that that now is not a good time, but that there's going to be a better time in the future, it's not true. It's not how it works. If now is not a good time, there's not going to be a good time in the future either. Because we can always find reasons to not fit it in. Always. There's always an excuse or a reason. And I'm not saying excuse as like a negative thing. I mean, look, my life is busy too. I get it. I run a business. I have 2 small children. I have a husband and friends, and I'm trying to have a social life, and I try and do all my food prep and eat healthy and work out and meditate and do all the things, because like life gets busy. But if you don't make time for yourself now, and if you don't commit now, things don't get better. You stay where you are. That's just real talk. So, you have to find a way. You have 24 hours in a day. And we make choices about how we spend those 24 hours in a day. So you can choose, that's part of the motivation, is like choose, be deliberate, choose what's important to you. Someone said to me, if everything is a yes, then none of your yeses matter. Does that make sense? If you just try and squeeze everything in and you don't say no to something that doesn't serve you, then you're not actually saying yes to the things that do serve you. So you have to think about your priorities when it comes to motivation. And I know that there's a lot of you out there who are scared because you've had a flare because of exercise before. And you're scared of being more tired, and you're scared of being in more pain, and I get it. I was there. So there's a point at which you just have to trust, and you just have to try. And I know it's a big ask to ask you to trust me, that like I can help you. But I really, really can. And I know this because I get emails every day. I got 3 this morning from people where they're like, oh my God, my life is significantly better because I did this. So I'm not trying to brag, but I'm trying to be true that if you show up and do it, it works. It's crazy, but it doesn't work if you sign up and you don't show up. So these are the things where we have to get a little honest with ourselves about like, how much do we really want it, right? How much are we willing to do the work? Again, the work can be for 1 minute a day. So I do it, I find ways to do it. Like I stand on one leg while I'm doing the dishes, or I practice my short foot while I'm doing the dishes, or I practice my abdominal bracing while I'm standing in line, at the grocery store waiting to check out. Or one of the Autoimmune Strong members this morning was emailing me that she was at the airport and she was practicing her deadlifts by lifting up her suitcase and putting it on the conveyor belt. The way that Autoimmune Strong is designed is it's all to mimic daily life stuff. Like, let's be honest, we're not trying to be bodybuilders here. We're not trying to have ripped torsos and massive bulging muscles. We just want to be able to be strong enough to lift a suitcase and put it in the overhead compartment, or to do laundry without our backs hurting, or to garden, right? Hike. These just the kind of normal everyday life things. We want to be able to do those. So all of that. So that's what these exercises are meant to do, is they're just meant to take the things that you already do and make them a little bit better, a little bit easier. So they can be done throughout the course of your day. It's not like you have. Some people work really well when they carve out specific time. They say here's 15 minutes set aside where I'm going to do my Autoimmune Strong. But a lot of people find that they can just sneak it in throughout the course of the day because it just works that way. Okay, I want to address some of these comments. Melissa said, that was me. I stopped doing my Autoimmune Strong exercises when I flared, but never left the program. I've started again because enough is enough. I need to be able to move for my kids. High five through the Facebook Live, Melissa. I'm proud of you. Part of the thing about the journey is the stopping and starting. That's part of the journey. You have to find your rhythm. You have to find that motivation. We often have motivation for a couple of days and then we kind of lose it, right? You're like, oh, I'm going to be so good and I'm going to get it done. And then something happens and a kid gets sick, or, something, a pipe bursts in your house. That happened to me. And, you're thrown off your game, right? And so then you have to scramble to get it back. But the more you go through that process of starting and then maybe having something get in the way and then having to recommit and then recommit, that's actually habit forming. It's practice. So don't feel angry with yourself or guilty because you got thrown off your path. It's actually not being thrown off your path at all. You're practicing and you're finding that deeper commitment. So it's actually a good thing. So, talk to yourself nicely. It's important. Okay. Christy is saying, I've also been thinking about trying infrared sauna and maybe sensory deprivation floating for stress reduction. Any thoughts? Okay. I actually do infrared sauna every week. I live in a town where there's an infrared sauna in my downtown, and I know that's not very common, and I'm very lucky. But I really believe in the powers of infrared light, especially for those of you who deal with arthritis and really severe inflammation. That's why I do it. I have arthritis in my ankles, and the infrared really, really helps. Now, I've never done sensory deprivation floating tank, but I have done a lot of Epsom salt baths, and they're really effective, so it can't hurt. I mean, I saw someone else say this, and I don't know where this... Valerie is saying, I was thinking about the floating stuff too. I have to work on my mental, emotional stress too. And that is the key right there, Valerie. You have to work on the mental, emotional stress too. It's really, really important. And if going to a floating tank helps you find that peace, by all means, that is essential. Find that thing that makes you get back to center and get in tune with yourself. And that's one of the reasons I like the infrared sauna too, is there's nothing to do in there. I don't bring in a cell phone or anything like that. I just sit for a half an hour and it's quiet time. No one's talking to me. No kids are asking me for anything. There are no chores I can do. I literally have nothing to do but sit, and that's really important quiet time for my brain. And you don't need to go to an infrared sauna to get quiet time. You can go outside, find a quiet space in your house. I don't know. There's lots of different options. But finding ways to work on that mental, emotional stress is really important. And setting intentions every day, every morning is going to be really helpful when it comes to motivation too. Of what do I want out of this day? What do I want out of this year? I want to take this year to become stronger and healthier. Well, how am I going to get that? What are the 3 things I'm going to do? Right? You dedicate yourself. I'm going to exercise for 5 minutes a day. Start there. 5 minutes a day. It's not very much. You can totally make that happen. And I know it feels like nothing, but it is effective. And Sally is saying, and I think we all can identify with that, I always feel like a slacker if I don't exercise for at least 30 minutes. Let go of that noise, Sally. Don't talk to yourself like that. If your body can't handle 30 minutes of exercise, then it's not good for you. There's no such thing as a slacker. You're doing the wrong thing if you're getting a flare-up because you did 30 minutes of exercise. So we got to change that perspective. It's really important. Oh, hi, Delia. Happy that you're here. All right, I'm reading. Oh, we're not trying to be bodybuilders here. Yeah, Barbara, this is exercise for life. This is not fitting into a quote-unquote bikini body. This is not, how do we look in our skinny jeans? This is, how do we get through our day without pain? How do we feel while we do the things that we love to do? Right? We don't want to feel left out when our friends go out to dinner. We don't want to feel left out when our family wants to go for a hike. We want to be able to say yes to those things. And that's what we're doing here. I call it strength for everyday life. That's what we're doing here. Okay. So I think we've learned a lot here. I'm really happy that you guys all showed up. I'm thrilled that we had this conversation. You guys are awesome, and thank you for talking to me because it really helps me understand what it is you want to hear about. Yeah, Angie's saying she'd rather sit even though she could be moving. I get it, but that sitting is actually hurting you. This is a good point to end on. This is my big moment. Boom. All the sitting, when you come home and you're tired and all you want to do is just sit down, that's hurting you. Because movement throughout your day is not nourishing movement. You're taking the poor posture and the stress of the day and you're just kind of like getting through, right? Like just because you're moving doesn't mean you're moving in a healthy way that's building strength or that's changing muscle imbalances or that's stretching tight muscles or that's strengthening weak muscles. You actually have to train for everyday life. It's like an athlete mentality, but for like 5 minutes a day. So what you have to say to yourself is, this sitting is actually, it's again, changing perspective. All this sitting, even though I'm tired, I really should be doing one thing that helps build a muscle. Or I should be foam rolling. Or I'm going to do abdominal bracing 5 times. And then I can sit. Dawn is asking, what about every move is painful because my back is so messed up? So I don't know exactly how your back is messed up, so I can't give you like specific advice. But what I can say is that typically our backs are in pain because our core is too weak and our glutes are too weak. And so our back is trying to overcompensate for those weaker muscles that are supposed to be doing the work. So if you if you balance, if you take a couple minutes in your day to work those weaker muscles, then the tighter muscles start easing off. And we're going to talk about this more next week. So stay tuned for that. Yes, you can add walking along with the program as long as it doesn't cause a flare-up. Some people can't handle walking in addition yet. They have to build up to it. And you just have to listen to your body. That's like the overall key, is you have to listen. And you have, again, that's something you have to train to do. You have to practice. Because if you don't move in these nourishing ways, then you don't know what to listen for. So that's what Autoimmune Strong is meant to do. It's meant to teach you everything you need to know about restructuring your body, about teeny tiny little movements, about progression in terms of strength and intensity. And it's teaching you how to listen to your body. That's what we're doing. So, for those of you who are not members, because I know a lot of you are, for those of you who are not members, I suggest you check out my website, which is www.getautoimmunestrong.com. I'll put a link to it in the comments below. And seriously, give it a try, because it's transformative if you try it. And I also wanted to tell you guys about the upcoming masterclass. On Thursday, I'm going to be teaching a masterclass about healthy weight loss and stress management. It's free for members and non-members alike. Totally 100% free. All you have to do is register. So if you register, you will get access to this free webinar. If you can't make it live, it's Thursday, March 28th at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can't make it live, no problem. If you register, you'll get the replay and you can watch it whenever you want. And I'll post the link to register for that masterclass in the comments as well. So I hope you guys learned something today. I'm going to be here same time next week, talking about a different topic. So come join me, ask me your questions, tell me your stories. I love talking to you. It's everything. It means everything to me that you show up and take time during your day to come chat with me here. So thank you, and have a wonderful day.